There are news stories that do not arrive with noise. They do not appear in shouted headlines. They are not accompanied by official announcements or carefully staged photos. They emerge quietly, almost uncomfortably, circulating through backrooms, private conversations, and signals that only the most attentive supporter can notice. In recent days, this kind of atmosphere has once again hovered around St. James Park, creating a curious sense that something is being prepared away from the spotlight, while the team tries to keep its focus on matters on the pitch. When this kind of mood takes hold of a club, experienced supporters know it is not just a single isolated rumor. These are loose pieces that slowly begin to fit together. Statements take on new weight, recent decisions start to make more sense, and the market is watched with even greater care. It is precisely at moments like this that following Newcastle's day-to-day becomes essential. And subscribing to the channel helps ensure you do not miss any detail of this type of quiet movement. On the pitch, Newcastle are going through a period of response. The team have won 3 of their last 4 Premier League matches, regained confidence, and moved closer once again to the Champions League qualification places. The gap to the top 4 has narrowed, the atmosphere has improved, and the feeling among supporters is that there is still a lot at stake this season. At the same time, however, there is another factor that worries the coaching staff and is beginning to influence decisions off the pitch. Injuries, which at one point seemed under control, have started to take their toll again. Key players have begun to feel the strain of an intense campaign, and the squad, which is not one of the deepest, is showing clear signs of overload. In scenarios like this, clubs aiming for something significant need to act early, not just react to immediate problems, but anticipate potential absences that could compromise bigger objectives. According to information from Football Fancast, Newcastle United are seriously considering the signing of a young midfielder to deal with the impact of Bruno Guimarães' injury. The club are reportedly analyzing the market in search of a name who can offer versatility, energy, and room for growth. Someone capable of filling gaps in the squad while also representing a strategic investment for the future. The name that emerges in this context is Alexander Stankovic, currently at Club Brugge. At just 20 years old, the player is already attracting attention not only for his talent, but for the maturity he has shown in high-level competitions. Newcastle's idea would not be to seek a desperate short-term fix, but rather someone who can contribute now and continue to develop over the coming seasons, in line with the club's sporting project. Stankovic is a holding midfielder by trade, but his versatility is one of the aspects that most appeals to observers. In addition to operating in midfield, he can also be used as a central defender when required. This type of profile fits perfectly into a squad that has been hit by injuries and needs players who can cover more than one role without a drop in performance. For Eddie Howe, this flexibility could prove decisive at key moments of the season. The son of Dejan Stankovic, a legend of Inter Milan, Alexander grew up breathing football. Born in Italy, he came through the youth ranks at the Milan club but ultimately did not find enough space to establish himself in the first team. The decision to leave the San Siro was strategic, seeking minutes, development, and a leading role, something he found after moving to Belgian football. It was at Club Brugge that Stankovic truly began to build his reputation. He became a starter in every one of the team's Champions League matches, facing high-level opponents and showing personality in big games. This type of experience, especially for such a young player, carries significant weight in the assessments of Premier League clubs looking for footballers already tested under pressure. In addition, the midfielder has drawn attention for his ability to influence important matches. Recently, he scored in a continental fixture and also found the net against Rangers in the qualifying rounds. These moments not only reinforce his technical quality, but also point to a player who does not shy away when the challenge increases, something highly valued in a competition as demanding as the English League. Another detail that adds to the interest around Stankovic is his international record. He became the youngest Serbian player to score in World Cup qualifiers in more than a decade. This kind of achievement helps explain why his name has begun to circulate more strongly within the scouting departments of major clubs, including Newcastle. In the current context of the Magpies, the potential arrival of a player like Stankovic makes even more sense. The first-choice midfield includes established names such as Bruno Guimarães, Sandro Tonali, and Joelinton, while Lewis Miley has emerged as a promising talent already knocking on the door for more minutes. Even so, the season has shown that relying on limited options can be risky when injuries strike. At the back, the situation also demands attention. Experienced players like Fabian Schär, Jamal Lascelles, and Dan Burn are already over 30, while Sven Botman has been dealing with recurring fitness issues. Thinking about alternatives that can strengthen this area, even if only occasionally, is a real necessity rather than a distant hypothesis. This is where Stankovic's versatility once again stands out. He could earn minutes both in midfield and in defense, depending on the team's needs. This ability to adapt increases his chances of establishing himself in the squad and offers Eddie Howe more tactical options throughout a season filled with decisive commitments. However, any deal would not be straightforward. Inter Milan hold a buyback clause valued at around £20 million. According to the Football Fancast report itself, the expectation is that Inter would trigger this clause not to use him in their squad, but to resell him for a profit, which effectively sets a minimum price for any interested club. For Newcastle, this brings clarity to the process. Knowing the financial level involved helps the club plan its next steps without unpleasant surprises. Within a project that seeks sustainable growth, this type of predictability is fundamental, especially in a market that is increasingly inflated and competitive. It is important to note that, at this stage, this is not a completed negotiation, but a move under evaluation. Even so, the mere fact that Stankovic's name is being considered reveals a great deal about the club's strategy. Newcastle are not looking only at the present, but are trying to build a squad capable of competing at a high level for several consecutive seasons. For supporters, following these movements helps to understand the direction the project is taking. Often, major decisions begin discreetly, far from eye-catching headlines. That is why staying subscribed to the channel makes a difference, ensuring access to in-depth analysis and information that helps interpret these signals before they become official. The possible search for a replacement or alternative for Bruno Guimarães does not necessarily mean an imminent departure, but rather an intelligent response to a risk scenario. Injuries are part of modern football, and ambitious clubs need to be prepared to deal with them without compromising performance and results. While the team continues to fight point by point in the Premier League, decisions behind the scenes may define the success or failure of the season. Every signing, every bet on a young talent, carries an impact that goes far beyond the short term. Stankovic represents exactly this type of strategic choice that can yield returns both on and off the pitch. If the move progresses, Newcastle could gain not only a promising player, but a piece capable of offering balance, depth and tactical options at decisive moments. In such a demanding league, that can be the difference between simply competing and truly achieving bigger objectives. For now, it is a matter of watching the next steps and closely following the club's movements. The market remains active. Injuries continue to influence decisions, and Newcastle keep working quietly to protect their interests. And here on the channel, you can follow all of this with context, clarity, and reliable information. If you want to stay up to date with these behind-the-scenes stories and understand what is really being planned at Newcastle United, do not forget to subscribe. It strengthens the channel and ensures you do not miss any chapter of this story, which still promises many developments to come.